Cadet Cooper, I don't have time for your shenanigans today. Class, I have something important to say. As you have probably heard by now, the Starship Griffin was lost in action en route to Trioniton. It is presumed ambushed and destroyed by Spartan Wolfpack. We all have friends and family on the Griffin, I'm sure. In fact, there are cadets who were instructed in this very class last year, were posted on the Griffin, and are now lost. Even my personal friend, Captain Viora Wright, is the captain of the Griffin. Let's take a moment to mourn their loss. Now, I promise you, class, we will avenge the Griffin. Make no mistake, the Spartans will feel our wrath. Now, please take your seats. The topic for today is, what legal steps should I take? This is part 5 of the Launch Your Startup Now boot camp. Learn how to start your own web app or app startup in an exciting 23rd century science fiction universe. This course is also known as Startup School for Coders, Ensign Edition. It is now 2291. I am Daniel W. Howard, Commandant of Startup School for Coders and the Interplanetary Fleet Star Academy, and I will be your instructor this term. As you can see on the lower right, I am transmitting from the Starship Nautilus, which is not a physical starship, but is a holographically simulated training starship running in HoloSim 13 on the Star Academy campus in San Francisco. You will address me as Commandant. I will address you as Cadet. You will get your handbook. Your boot camp handbook is a one-page PDF sheet. Class, I'm just so upset about the loss of the Griffin. I just don't know what to say. It's so upsetting to me. Most of you have your boot camp handbook now, and those who don't, you know how to get it. Just send this email. Let's move on. The Second Ethereum War. In 2166, the Spartan Empire established a military governorship to replace the Spartan outlaws who lost the Ethereum to the upstart Human Alliance. The Spartan military junta brutalized the native Ethereans even more. Over 10 years, the Etherean rebellion grew, covertly supported and supplied by the Alliance. In 2176, a war broke out. The Alliance and the rebellion liberated the Ethereum, which was officially inducted into the Alliance. I want to say that I actually appreciate and want to thank our Etherean brothers and sisters for joining the Alliance. The Ethereans are essential to the Interplanetary Alliance, and I want to personally say to them how important they are. I am not a lawyer or attorney. I cannot give you legal advice. I am not giving you legal advice. I am not practicing law here. This presentation does not form an attorney-client relationship. I make no representations of the usefulness, accuracy, or risk of using this information. Consult an attorney if you need legal advice. And you have to know that the Interplanetary Fleet Legal Department required me to tell you this. In the early days of your startup, start simply. Create one of these simple legal structures first. A sole proprietorship, if you're just one person, or a partnership, if there are 2 or more people. Also, buy lawsuit insurance. And finally, when investors offer you $100,000 and demand stock and you want to accept their investment, convert your sole proprietorship or partnership into an LLC or a C corporation at that time. I included this slide because I wanted to tell you right at the very beginning what you should do. Why not incorporate right away? before incorporating, you need to know about business entities, the advantages and disadvantages of incorporation. Do you need lawsuit insurance? And do investors want your startup to be already incorporated when you approach them for investment? What is a business entity? It's a legal person. There are two types of business entities. You and the business are the same. That's a single entity, business entity. These include sole proprietorships, also known as solopreneur, and general partnerships, where you have co-founders. The second kind of business entity is where you and the business are separate entities. This would include C corporations, which are just a regular corporation. A subset of C corporations are S corporations and PSCs, which are personal service corporations. And another kind of entity is an LLC, also known as a limited liability company. In this class, we will only speak about C corporations. The advantages of a C corp. What are the supposed key advantages of having a C corp? Well, one is limited liability, and another one is the ability to offer stock, that is, to have passive investors. And there's a few minor non-key advantages, such as perpetual existence, the separation between owners and managers, and some tax advantages if you're very profitable. What are the disadvantages of having a C corp? Well, it consumes TEMA, otherwise known as time, energy, money, and attention. It has annual fees, possibly to multiple states. You need to find and hire a C Corp specialist attorney who knows what they are doing. You must pay minimum wage to the founders. You must file a corporate tax return each year. It is IRS Form 1120. I've done it, and it's somewhat similar to filing your personal taxes. And issuing stock is difficult to do it yourself and can cause personal tax issues if you make a mistake. And these tax issues can actually be thousands or 10,000s of dollars. Limited liability is a key advantage of creating a C Corp. At least that's what everybody says. But we will see that it is limited personal liability, not limited corporate liability. Next, we will see an example scenario, the results of the example, and that we need insurance anyway. A successful limited liability example is, and here I've actually underlined the particular things that you should take note of. So let's suppose you use a copyright image in your startup's product and the copyright owner sues you as an individual and the C Corp for $1 million. As you will note that actually he can still sue you even though you have a C Corp. Then you have to hire a lawyer for yourself and the C Corp. You can hire only one lawyer to defend both of you, but just because you have a C Corp doesn't mean that you automatically get a lawyer or that you're not going to have to pay. So the lawyer that you hire argues that you behaved as an employee at the C Corp, and the judge excludes you as an individual, but not the C Corp from the lawsuit. So this is actually showing where the limited liability is coming into play. Is you as an individual are being excluded from the lawsuit at this point. And then the C Corp, let's say, loses and goes bankrupt. Notice the results of the example. The C Corp still has unlimited liability. The C Corp still loses everything in the end. It loses its corporate treasury, its code, its time, its product, its customers, and its life. Everything that you built is gone. Limited is the right word. For example, if you steal money, you can still be sued as an individual. You can't blame the C Corp. So limited liability is not as comprehensive in practice as it appears to be on the surface. Don't rely on limited liability. Whether you have a C Corp or not, you still need lawsuit insurance. Lawsuit insurance can actually be for both individuals and corporate. For individuals, your home and renter insurance will actually serve as a base for lawsuit insurance, even in personal business that you do and in your workplace. Also, individuals can buy umbrella insurance, which will actually, once your home or renter's insurance has covered everything that it can, umbrella will cover additional money that you will owe as a result of a lawsuit. And of course, there is also corporate lawsuit insurance. These are like E&O insurance and D&O insurance. I'm not going to go into these right now, but there are a variety of insurances that you could buy for a corporation. If you are a single entity, that is a sole proprietorship or a partnership, the insurance should actually cover both you as an individual and your company, which, because you're a single entity, is part of you. Insurance, of course, has policy limits. Your renters or home insurance will have a limit, and then the umbrella insurance may cover up to $1 or $2 million, and then on corporate insurance, they may cover up to $10 million. This will depend on your insurance contract. There's more to learn about insurance, but I'm not going to cover that in this class. Ability to offer stock, that is, to have passive investors, is a key advantage of creating a C Corp. At least that's what everybody says. But we will see that stock is only needed when you actually get investors. Founders do not need stock. Next, we will see who needs stock, what investors like to see in new startups, and what I call premature incorporation. Stock, shares, equity, stock options, RSUs, vesting agreements are what C Corps have. Passive investors, also known as passive owners, demand stock so they can limit their participation, liability, and risk to their investment money. But you and any co-founders cannot limit your participation, liability, and risk because you are active in the startup. Whether you have stock or percentages makes no difference. Professional investors, such as wealthy individuals and venture capitalists, like to see startups that are laser focused on building a product and talking to customers. They are not interested in you being distracted by legal work. Professional investors like to see startups with simple and clear ownership. A few owners where it is clear what they own. And finally, professional investors like to see startups that they can create a brand new, clean, customized C Corp from by working with its owners at the time of their investment. Premature incorporation. Professional investors prefer that you not prematurely incorporate. Wait to incorporate until right before you get your first investment. It is a hassle for investors to deal with do-it-yourself incorporations by founders, incorporations by lawyers who are not experts in business law and corporations, complicated or messy stock structures, and fixing incorporation mistakes. I urge you, just wait and let them help you to do it right. To sum up, start simply. Do not create a C Corp for limited liability or to issue stock at first. Instead, create one of these, a sole proprietorship or a partnership. A good reference for help is the Form a Partnership book for $28 from Nolo Press. And I want to give you another piece of advice, which is do not accept investment for less than $100,000. And then when you do accept investment for $100,000 or more, wait until then to make your tech startup into a C Corp. Again, the Interplanetary Fleet Legal Department requires me to remind you of this fact. I am not a lawyer or an attorney. I cannot give you legal advice. I am not giving you legal advice. I am not practicing law here. This presentation does not form an attorney-client relationship. I make no representations of the usefulness, accuracy, or risk of using this information. Consult an attorney if you need legal advice. This fifth video has been about whether to incorporate your startup as a C Corp or not when you first start your tech startup. The sixth video finally brings the focus to coding, that is programming. It is assumed that you are already familiar with the basics of programming, but don't worry, the sixth video only expects the basics. It assumes that you are not a coding expert. A special note, if you work at an incubator, a venture capitalist, Y Combinator, consult to startup founders, run an entrepreneur podcast, even run your own startup school, or in any other way deal with people who are starting their own startup, I want to hear from you so I can work with you. Contact me through LinkedIn. You will get your handbook. Your bootcamp handbook is a one-page PDF sheet entitled 7 Key Areas to Bootstrap Your Startup from Nothing to Launch. I assume that most of you have it by now, and from the statistics you do, so I won't say anything further. I want to tell you, class, Commander Avery Moss sends her regards. She gave me some pointers to better teach this class. As a result, the remaining sessions will improve. Between now and the next class, really think about what we have discussed in this class about incorporation. Start with a simple business entity and plan when and why you might incorporate. I also have some information for you. I have been informed that once you graduate and are promoted to crewmen, this class will be assigned to the starship Myrmidon. It's a fine ship, and it will be your honor to serve under Captain John Iroquois. Attention! Class dismissed. Adjutant, I don't even know what to think. I'm so upset about the loss of the Griffin. I mean, the captain was such a good friend of mine. I don't even know what to think.